Hey Sopu, hey Saheem, hey, or Sohim Incorporated. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Hey Miss Coco, hey James, hey, welcome back Felix, hey Sabina, hey Dennis. I am just getting all of our platforms here ready to go. All right, here we go. Welcome to day 13 of devotional time for mindset. Are y'all ready to dive into day 13? Wow, we are 13 days into 2024. Hey, Tori. Listen, I need y'all to do a few things for me, okay? But as we are diving into this devotional, first and foremost, I need you to share this out, invite some friends to watch the live, whatever platform you are tuned in from. And if you are actually watching me live right now, then comment live in the comments. Let me know you're here and tell me where you're tuned in from, because we've had multiple countries tuning in already. Hey, Maida. Hey, Negrita. Hey, Lara. And all over the U.S. as well. We've had Kenya, the Netherlands, the U.K., Mississippi, California, New York, Georgia, Indiana, Illinois. So let me know where you are tuned in from. Leave it in the comments. Hey, Sexy Share. Okay, I see you. Hey, Sandra. And comment live if you're watching live. If you're watching the replay later on in your day or your evening, then comment replay, okay? But I need for you guys to comment, share, love, do all the things, and have a discussion with me as we go through this devotional time for mindset, because I don't want to talk to myself. So I need y'all to talk to me in the comments. Hey, Regina. Hey, Nuke. Okay? Sound like a deal? Sound like a deal? Yes? Awesome. We are streaming live across 8 different platforms right now. And please know I will do my best to get to every single comment I can, but I do miss a few sometimes and I can't see all of the comments. So let me let you know how this goes. This is devotional time for mindset, and we are on day 13 of our 100-day journey. Yes, we are here every day, same time, same place, nights, weekends, days, depending on where you are in the world, holidays included, okay? This devotional is based off of Battlefield of the Mind devotional by Joyce Meyer. Let me show all my different cameras here. So this is our guiding post right here. So every night I will read the devotional from the book, and then we'll have our discussion, which means I need y'all to talk to me, okay? And if you would like to follow along as we go through our 100-day journey, then you can download your free copy of the book at mindsetmastersuite.com. Got it? Mindsetmastersuite.com. You should see it in the description wherever you're tuned in from. So you can also submit prayer requests. You can purchase a copy of First Class Life Devotional, 35 Testimonies of Phenomenal Faith Through Turbulent Times. And you can submit to our favored list, which I'm going to share about in just a moment. But before we get into all that, let me introduce myself to those who are new in the room. Hey, Gilliam. My name is Lindsay Vertner. I'm a mindset expert, speaker, and actress, and I work with high-achieving leaders to help them prioritize self without guilt. Specifically, what I call the 3 pillars of self, which is self-care, self-worth, and self-discipline, because those 3 pillars impact everything that we do at a subconscious level. It is my purpose in life to help you create your first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So that is who this crazy lady is, streaming at you at midnight Eastern time, 8 a.m. Kenya time, I think. So let's get into it. Please don't hesitate to post your insights, your ahas, your comments, your questions in the comment section, and even repost on social media using the hashtag devotional time for mindset, okay? And be sure to tag me so that I can come show you some internet love. So let's get into it. I see y'all tuning in. Thank you for the stars. Thank you for the roses on TikTok. Vicky says, hey. Tabitha says, hey. She's here live. Renette is from Evansville, Indiana, tuning in. We got Indiana holding it down in the house tonight. Indianapolis, Indiana is here too. Brittany Clay says, hey fam, we're live calling in from Oklahoma. Not physically calling in, but she's tuned in from Oklahoma. Joyce is back. Hey, LaCrish. Good to see you. And hey, oh Joy. Hey, Monique. Hey, Micah. Dee Dee, you're back. So glad you can make it. Okay, y'all. Let's get into today's devotional. So I'm going to read the devotional straight from the book. Again, if you want to follow along, you can download your free copy at mindsetmastersuite.com. And then we are going to get into the discussion. Let's get started. Today's topic for day 13 of devotional time for mindset is wilderness mentality. The opening scripture reads, the Lord our God said to us in Horeb, you have dwelt long enough on this mountain. Turn and take up your journey and go to the hill country of the Amorites. Behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and take possession of the land which the Lord swore to your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give to them and their descendants after them. That's from Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 6 through 8. So the devotional reads, those of us who are parents know these words so well. In a minute, just a little longer. We call our children to leave their playing and come inside, but they want just a little more time to stay out with their friends. For now, at least they're content with playing and don't want to think about getting cleaned up or eating dinner. It's always just a little longer if we let them. And at times, we adults act a little like those children who cry out, just a little longer. I've met miserable people, those who disliked their lives, hated their jobs, or were in intolerable relationships with the wrong kind of people. They knew they were miserable, but they did nothing about it. Just a little longer. A little longer for what? More pain, more discouragement, more unhappiness? Those are the people who have what I call the wilderness mentality. I want to explain that. Moses led the people of Israel out of Egypt. If they had obeyed God, stopped their grumbling, and moved straight ahead as God originally told them, they could have made the trip in 11 days. But instead, it took them 40 years. Why did they finally leave? Only because God said, you have dwelt long enough on this mountain. If God hadn't pushed them into the promised land, I wonder how long they would have stayed and longed across the Jordan. They were people in bondage. Although they had seen miracles in Egypt and had praised God at the defeat of the Egyptian armies at the Red Sea, they were still in bondage. The chains were no longer on their bodies, but they had never removed those chains from their minds. That is the wilderness mentality. Hey, Beats and Blessings. Hey, Miko. For 40 years, they grumbled. They had no water, and then God provided it for them. They grumbled about the food. Manna was all right, but they wanted meat of some kind. No matter what the situation, they were still mental prisoners, as they had been in Egypt, so they were in the wilderness. No matter how good things became, they were never good enough. They had forgotten all the hardships and slavery in Egypt, and every time they were dissatisfied with Moses' leadership, they moaned, oh, if we had only stayed in Egypt. They had forgotten how bad things were. They had no vision for how good things could get. When they had the chance to move into the new land, they were afraid. There are giants in the land, they cried out. They had seen God's deliverance in the past, but they weren't ready for it in the present. Finally, God said, okay, it's time to move out. The Bible doesn't tell us about their attitude, but there's no reason to believe that it had changed. I can imagine that they cried out, let's stay just a little longer. Things aren't good here, but we know how to live in the wilderness. We are afraid to leave this place. We have become used to it. If you don't like your life, but you won't make the effort to change, you may have a wilderness mentality. If your mind stays filled with negative thoughts, they will keep you in bondage. However, you can do something about it. You don't have to waste any more time. You can say, I've dwelt long enough at this mountain. Now I'm going into the promised land, the land where I'll live in victory and defeat Satan's plans. The closing prayer reads, Great God, help me cast off the wilderness mentality. Help me make on the promised land mentality and live in victory through Jesus Christ. Amen. Hey, Charlene. Hey, Azwara. Hey, Andrew. Hey, Nuke. Hey, Morlai. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, y'all. That is day 13 of the devotional reading. So now it is time to get in this discussion, and I hope y'all are ready. Okay. If you're just tuning in, you are listening to Devotional Time for Mindset, and we are on day 13 of our 100-day journey. You can download your free copy of the book at mindsetmastersuite.com, and you can follow along. You can also submit prayer requests and all kinds of other things. So let's talk about this discussion. If you would like to join me live and have a verbal back and forth, then go to mindsetmastersuite.com and actually click the join live button. You can keep your camera turned off if you want to. It's absolutely up to you. But many of you can come on right now if you do, please. Dee Dee says, what was the verse in Deuteronomy? So it was Deuteronomy. Let me go back. Deuteronomy chapter 1, verses 6 through 8. You got it? Can somebody put that in the comments? Or actually, for those of you that are tuned in on video, you can see it on the screen right now. That was Deuteronomy 1, verses 6 through 8. Okay? Yes. Awesome. No problem. You're welcome. Hey, Kensha, thanks for tuning in. Okay, y'all, let's get in this discussion. But before we do that, I want to share with you, I saw something on Instagram yesterday, and it was a post, and it was just a video of a lady just like sitting in her closet, and she looked a little bit defeated, and she had caption over the post, and the caption read, and I quote, "Do you ever feel like life is so heavy that you can't even pray?" Did y'all catch that? Did you ever feel like life is just so heavy that you can't even pray? And I wanted to share that with you because on mindsetmastersuite.com, we have our favored list. And what that is us helping each other in moments just like this, when we feel so heavy that we can't even pray. We can't even help ourselves because life is beating us up so much. So I need for all of us to collectively contribute to our favored list. Go to mindsetmastersuite.com and you can input your favorite scripture. You can input your favorite inspirational or personal development books because some people like to read. And you can input your favorite inspirational songs because some people connect with music. And at the end of the 100-day journey, I'm going to take that and put it in a pretty nice little document PDF for you guys. And I'm going to email it out to everyone that left their email so that when we have moments where we feel so heavy that we don't even know what to say, we can go like, okay, you know what? Let me put on my Devotional Time for Mindset playlist and have some music help me out because I don't got the words right now to pick myself up out of this dark space. Y'all feel me? So everything has a purpose, okay? Everything was intentionally thought out. So that is the purpose of the favorite list whenever you see that button on Mindset Master Suite. So please contribute, okay? Because we are collectively creating this together. So let's get into the discussion. I wanted to share that with y'all, okay? So wilderness mentality. Now, today's topic is all about causing your own suffering. Causing our own suffering. And unfortunately, as humans, we do that a lot. Okay. We do that when God tells us to move and we don't move. Now, a couple days ago, I think it was on day 7, we talked about accountability for our actions and accountability for our inactions as well when we don't take action. And so this goes further into that, taking accountability for our lack of action. So Deuteronomy is all about God and Moses and Isaiah and all of that stuff that we're going to get into. But the Israelites had been slaves in Egypt. And then God set them free from slavery. But then they were in the wilderness and God had told them to move and they wouldn't move because they were comfortable in their chaos. How many of us can get comfortable in our chaos and get stuck in a situation that we don't want to be in? And we're complaining, but yet we stay there. This could be referring to a job for some of you. This could be referring to a toxic relationship for some of you. Look, it's going to start to get real quiet in the comments in a second. And that means some feelings is getting hurt. But we are in this together because we are family and we support one another. Okay. Over here, thank you for putting that in the comments. Kensha says, hi, good evening, Lindsay. Good evening, everyone. God bless you all. Thanks for tuning in, Kensha. Hey, Moses. Thanks for tuning in. So we can often cause our own suffering because we don't move when God tells us to move. And let me tell you something. Obedience does not require perfection. Did you get that? Obedience does not require perfection. Well, what does that mean, Lindsay? That means that sometimes we want the situation to be perfect before we move. Sometimes we want to know the whole A to Z plan before we move. Sometimes we want to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row and that everything is perfectly aligned and perfectly understood. And especially for our own selves, we want to make sure that we know all of the things that are going to happen perfectly before we move. And God didn't tell us to wait for all of that. He said, move. He said, move now. Obedience does not require perfection. Perfectionism serves no one. Perfectionism is a defense mechanism. It's a symptom of a limiting belief, and it serves no one. It's very self-serving. Brittany Clay says, oh my God, I gotta move. Listen, we all gotta move sometimes, okay? Hey, Adekunle. Please, I hope I said your name right. Adekunle. And Marcelo, thanks for tuning in. Obedience does not require perfection. When God tells you to move, we got to move. Because when we don't move, when God instructs us to move, we prolong our suffering. Like, look at the verse for today's topic. Deuteronomy 1, verses 6 through 8. I know it was a little complicated in the actual devotional, so I put it on the screen and we're going to read it in a more simpler way. Now, this is me kind of paraphrasing verses 6 through 8, but it's the same thing. I just left out all the extras, okay? So God, our God, spoke to us. You have stayed long enough at this mountain. On your way now, get moving. Head for the hills, the mountains, the seashore, the country, the towns, the foothills, the river. Look, I've given you this land. Now go in and take it. It's the land God promised to your ancestors and their kids. We are the kids of the ancestors. We are children of God, and He promised us this good land. He's telling us to move to this good land, not just a portion of the good land, but all of the good land. The mountains, the rivers, the seashore, the towns, the foothills, the villages, everything. He wants us to have it all, but we don't move. So in this instance, God is fed up with the Israelites. He's like, y'all working my last nerve. I done told y'all to move. I have something that is bigger and better for you. It is literally bigger and better for you. But you're not moving so that you can receive that blessing. Instead, they wanted to complain. And why were they complaining? Even though they were in slavery, which I don't know about y'all, but I do not wish to go back to any days of slavery. Now, granted, I wasn't, back in the actual slavery times, but there are a lot of ways today, right now, that we are still held in bondage. Through systemic oppression and systemic racism, and we're not going to get into all that, but a lot of us will hold our own selves in bondage, in a mental bondage, in an emotional bondage. Go back and watch some of the previous days because we've talked about a few of those things. And many a times it is a natural human behavior for us to have a fear of the unknown. Hey, Uncaged Faith, thanks for tuning in. Have a fear of the unknown. And when we fear the unknown, that can often stop us from moving forward. What we talked about yesterday, the brain loves the familiar and the brain wants to keep us safe. And if the brain likes patterns and predictability, because when we know what's going to happen, then we can predict how we can move to keep ourselves safe. But if we don't know what's going to happen, then that makes us fearful. And sometimes we can become paralyzed in that fear and not move. So I have a question for y'all. Now, well, it's not really a question, but it's a statement. Like, it seems like we're always telling God about our problems, but have we ever stopped to actually tell our problems about God? Did y'all catch that or no? We always tell God about our problems, but do we ever flip the script and tell our problems about God? Because I don't know about y'all, but every time I have faith in what God has for me, and even though I might be going through a tough season in my life, I take it to God and I say, God, these are the problems I'm going through. And then I take it back to my problems. Like, my problems, you don't know the God that I serve and how he's going to show up for me and how he's going to fight my battles for me. I know some of y'all don't see me on video, but look at my face. Look at my face right now. Brittany says, whoa, perfectionism is a defense mechanism. Hey, KP, thank you for the stars. I appreciate it. Woo, child, many of us equals me, Brittany says in the comments. Listen, my hand is raised, okay? I'm preaching to the choir. Cancel that. I'm moving. I'm trying to move myself. Listen. This Vicky, she says, preach, all right? Yes. So we have to be willing to move. We have to take that fear and turn it into fuel to propel us forward, like we talked about on previous days. We have to stop complaining about the situation that we're in because God told us to move a long time ago. That's something that my friends and people close to me know, like, especially if I took my time to help you brainstorm solutions to the problem that you're complaining to me about. Okay, we get a couple vent sessions, but afterwards, if you're not making no moves, you're not taking no action, don't complain to me about that same situation anymore. It's one thing if you try to apply some differences and make some moves and changes, and then you're still in the situation, but you attempted to move. Okay, then we can regroup and brainstorm some more because progress is better than perfection. And remember, obedience doesn't require perfection anyway. So let's keep this discussion going. If you're just tuning in, you are listening to day 13 of Devotional Time for Mindset. You can follow along with us on our 100-day journey at mindsetmastersuite.com. You can download your free copy of the book Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer, which is what this devotional is based on. And you can submit prayer requests. You can contribute to our favorite list and all the things. You can join me live right now. And you can keep your camera turned off if you like. All of those things and more. Lots of resources for you to browse at mindsetmastersuite.com. Tabitha says, get me together right now. Look, we getting each other together. Hey, Taylor, thanks for tuning in. Okay, we are all in this together. So let's keep going in this discussion. So the Israelites were complaining. God delivered them from being in slavery in Egypt. Now they're out in the wilderness. And did y'all catch the part where it was supposed to only be an 11-day journey? Y'all, not even 2 weeks. It was only supposed to be an 11-day journey. But because they wouldn't move, and because they kept complaining, and because they kept grumbling, they themselves caused an 11-day trip to stretch out to 40 years. Not a quarter of a year, not just 1 year, but did y'all hear me? 40 years, 4 decades. And it wasn't even supposed to take 2 weeks. So we have to ask ourselves, what in my life am I continuing to suffer? Am I causing my own suffering? Am I causing my own pain? Am I causing my own stress? Am I causing my own anxiety because I won't move when God told me to move a long time ago? But instead, I am sitting comfortable in my chaos. because it's familiar, because I know what's going to happen, even though I don't like it. Ask yourself that, because that's what we often do. But we're here to learn today that we don't have to keep doing that. We can deliver ourselves from the wilderness, clearly with God's help. But here's the thing. Oh, no, let me not jump ahead. Because we're going to get to that. Mama Net says they were to give their faithful obedience to him and him alone, just like we are to. Whatever God promises, he delivers, which requires our obedience. Yes, come through with that good word, Mama Net. And Tabitha says, I just came to this revelation in December, and I'm so blessed to have you doing this class. I am blessed that you are here. Hey, Mariah. Hey, Tovias. I hope I said that right. Thanks for tuning in. You'll have to tell us more about the specific. Well, that's if you're comfortable and okay sharing the specifics of your revelation. So I want y'all to think about something. We just learned about the Israelites taking an 11-day trip, and because they were focused on all of the things they didn't have, there's that, and focused on the familiar and what they used to have, they turned an 11-day trip into 40 years. Now, you want to know what this made me think about? This made me think about the comic strip Family Circus. I might age myself now, but is Family Circus still around? One of the things that I used to love as a child was the Sunday newspaper, because the Sunday paper was the big paper with all the things in it, and it had a big colorful shred of like a 5-page spread of comics, and I used to love to read the comics. So anytime I saw the Sunday paper, I went straight to the comic section, and one of the comics that was often in that was called Family Circus by someone named Billy Keene. And I'm going to show y'all, because Family Circus was about a family. It was a mama, a daddy. They had some kids. I don't really know. It was a cute little comic, okay? But there was one character named Billy. And every now and then in the comic, Billy would go out of his way to do a simple task. But to Billy, it wasn't a simple task. He wasn't making a straight line from A to B. He was making a zigzag curve, loop-de-loop, over the top, under the bridge, go through the fire, step on the stones, go around the car, spin in front of the tree 3 times, and then get to B. Look, I'm going to show y'all because y'all not feeling me. Okay, I'm glad somebody remembers. Brittany says, I remember Family Circus. I always went straight to the comics too. Thank you for not making me feel alone, okay? I'm going to show y'all. For those that are only audio, I'm sorry that you won't see this image, but for the rest of you that are tuned in via video, look at your screen right now. Oh, let me take this banner off for you because I'm blocking it. So you see the screen? This is an actual real comic from Family Circus. And you see in the corner right there, here, let me see, can I flip the screen for Instagram and for TikTok just a moment, and then I will continue the discussion. You see that? You see that? Let me see. Can I flip it for, TikTok? I'm sorry. I don't know how to flip the screen in the middle of the live, so y'all gonna have to catch it. Oh, hey, Dr. Boyd. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to come back to your comment in a second. So y'all see this on the screen, and I'm going to explain it for those of you that can't see it. You see in the corner here, Billy's mom says, quick, Billy, run these out to the mailbox. They need to be sent today. And then you see this path that Billy takes. He goes through the laundry room, it looks like. He goes through the kitchen. He goes over the stool. Then he goes into the living room to the lamp. He jumps over his sister, jumps on the couch, goes around, goes over the table, goes around to another room, goes into the dining room, goes around the table and around the other end of the table, then goes back through the living room, stops in his little brother's room who's watching TV, goes through there, and then goes to a little family sitting room. Sorry, oops, I'm messing up the camera there. jumps on another couch, looks like he stops at a pet's cage and plays with the pet, hops on that a little bit, then does some loop-de-loop zigzags all the way through the hallway, goes around the dog, and then goes out the front door. And y'all, he still ain't to the mailbox. He goes out the front door, he turns into the front yard, and then he makes some circles around the lamppost, and then he finally goes to the mailbox. And he yells back to his mom, "Too late, mommy. We just missed him." Y'all, ain't that funny? Ain't that funny? I see you backstage. I'm going to bring you up in just a moment. Do y'all see? This was the perfect. As soon as I read the devotional, as I was preparing for today, I instantly thought of the Family Circus comic and Billy's Little Shenanigans. Do you see? He took a simple instruction, put this in the mailbox, and he made it very complicated by his own accord and went all through, taking all kind of detours that nobody told him to take. But he thought that his plan was better than his mama's. Oh, y'all, how many times do we think that our plan is better than our father's? I'm going to just pause and let that sink in for a second. How many times do we think that our plans is better than God's? And so we do it our way. Wow. Hey, Gloria, thanks for tuning in. Dr. Boyd says, sounds like someone I know. Hashtag, that is my older brother throwing shade because he has the most fabulous sister in the world, okay? He said, what about the family member who ordered lobster when they know their brother only got paid $5 an hour? Listen, y'all, I didn't know better. I just knew God had said I was to live a good life, okay? And what he's referring to is whenever we were younger and he had his very first job, he took me and my mother out to eat because he was happy with his paycheck. And he made the mistake of asking me where I wanted to go. And I said Red Lobster, and I ordered lobster. Why? Because God will give us the things we desire in our heart, okay? I don't know how much your paycheck is. You didn't give me a price limit. So he's throwing shade in the comments on TikTok. But yes. Do y'all see how often do we think that our plan is better than God's plan, and we will detour and reroute and do our own thing and make the trip extra long? Hey, Dee, thanks for tuning in. We do that all the time in our lives. And here's the thing. Oftentimes when we do that, we can delay our blessing or miss our blessing completely. Just like how Billy's mom was like, take this to the mailbox. It needs to go out today. Now, we don't know what that it was that needed to go out today. It could have been just a simple letter to a family. It had to have some importance that she said it needs to go out today. Maybe it was a bill. And if it didn't go out today, it was going to be late. We don't know what was in that letter. But Billy took his time and did his own thing and ended up missing the mailman. And so we have to ask ourselves, have we missed the mailman? Let's get back into this discussion. Let me check out these comments because I see you over here. Yes. Okay, so Mama Nat says that was one of her favorites too. Please try to connect again on the backstage. Let's see. Tabitha says, I create my own chaos by over helping, and a lot of my trauma could have been avoided had I just minded my business. Tabitha, I'm gonna pause right there because so many of us overextend ourselves and then we're wondering why we're exhausted and overwhelmed and stressed out because we're picking up burdens and bags that God never told us to pick up. Again, we're trying to do things our own way. Tabitha goes on to say, I often do things thinking it's going to make them love me. And majority of the time I'm hurt because after they get what they want, they're out. So I'm just taking my accountability and working on that feel good for me. I hope this makes sense. This absolutely makes sense. And Tabitha, I just want to say thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being raw, because this is what Devotional Time for Mindset is all about. We talk about the nitty-gritty. We are honest with ourselves, because if you can't be honest with yourselves, then how do you expect to improve and grow? And how can you expect other people to be honest with you? It starts within us. And we are all here supporting one another. This is a safe space. This is a judgment-free zone. So I just want to make sure that that is clear for everyone, okay? And so many other people have been in that same situation, just like Tabitha, where you are doing things thinking that it'll make someone love you more. And that's a symptom of an inner limiting belief. And we've talked about those in previous days. So if you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, go back and watch some of the replays. But that is a symptomatic behavior of an inner limiting belief, making you feel like you have to do this to earn other people's love rather than experiencing unconditional love. And while I'm here in this space, hey Larma, hey Gloria, hey Shell, we have to remind ourselves that God has agape love. That means it's unconditional. There's nothing that you can do or not do to not have his love. He's going to give us all of his love, period, point blank. We got it, whether we want it or not. He's going to love us, and he's going to love us to the fullest. There's absolutely nothing that we can do to make him not love us. Hey there, thanks for tuning in. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad that you are taking accountability for your actions and your part in that, and that you're already working on that, because the first step is awareness. Now I see some more comments where y'all laughing at me. It's okay. It's okay. I like laughter is good for the soul. Now Mama Net is tuning in, and she was like, his very first check, in reference to the story I just told you. Mimi, this is my mother-in-law, y'all. She says, too many times. That's why I'm in my situation today. And I'm so glad that you are here, because we are all in Devotional Time for Mindset to help us improve and better our situations. Let's see. Brittany says, that is a cute story. Listen, I love my big brother, okay? I used to play my Barbie dolls in his room when he was gone with his friends. Don't tell him that, but... Hey, Novette. Hey, Victory. Hey, Adam. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Mama Net says lobster and shrimp. Hey, Nate. Brittany Clay says Mama Net, yep, said lobster and shrimp. Exactly. Look, I wasn't playing no games, okay? You ain't give me no limits, so I'm going to get exactly what I want. And you see, God delivered. He took my brother's little paycheck and he made it stretch, okay? So Francille, this is my Aunt Frances, y'all. She said, if I am comfortable in my own chaos, does that also mean that I am also comfortable in my own misery? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And I don't mean to put it so blunt, but that's the simplest answer. Yes. When you're comfortable in your chaos, you're comfortable in your misery. That doesn't mean you want the misery. That doesn't mean you enjoy the pain. But whenever we are comfortable in a situation, that means our pain tolerance, our threshold has not surpassed where we need to be for us to be willing to move. Y'all understand? Let's break that down a little bit. So our brains, apart from keeping us safe and alive, that's its number one goal, first and foremost. Brittany says, ooh, good question. That's why we gonna talk about it. This is why I love when y'all talk to me in the comments, so we can address things directly, okay? So our brain, first and foremost, its number one goal is to keep us safe and alive, period, point blank. That's goal number one, priority number one. That's always going to be at the top of the list, no matter what day it is, no matter what season, no matter where you at, okay? But then after that, our brain wants to increase pleasure and decrease pain. Increase pleasure and decrease pain. But naturally, how our body is wired, we will do all the things to decrease pain. over increasing pleasure. But when we are operating from our limiting beliefs, they are subconsciously controlling all of our behaviors. Y'all still following me so far? And so when we're operating in our limiting beliefs and we're experiencing pain, we will complain about the pain and we will not understand why I can't move myself out of this pain. It's because those subconscious beliefs are driving those behaviors that keep us stuck. And those negative thoughts that are constantly repeating in our heads that we talked about the other day, that's the enemy keeping us stuck. Now, let me make sure I clarify. User 4706 say, amen, sis. This is Christelia. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, Tammy and Sandra and Chief. We learned the other day that most of our thoughts are repetitive and most of our thoughts are negative. And yes, the enemy wants to prey on our thoughts, fears, our doubts, our confusion, our anxiety, all of the negative things. And he wants us to stew on those and he wants us to live in those. However, we have to be aware that the enemy is present and he is attacking our brains. But we also have to take accountability for our own actions because we have free will. So we can't just blame everything on the devil because guess what? We learned in previous days that the devil will just plant a seed and 9 times out of 10, we ourselves do the rest of the work. How do we ourselves do the rest of the work? We stew on those negative thoughts. We keep repeating those negative thoughts. We speak those negative thoughts over our life, which impacts our interactions and our environments and our relationships. And even though we say we don't want this, we aren't willing to do the mental, emotional, physical, financial, spiritual work, whatever it may be, combination of all 5, to take us out of that painful situation. Why? Because it's easier to stay in it than it is to move forward in the unknown, just like the Israelites. Girl, that was a perfect question. Who knew it's going to come right back around to today's topic? Did y'all catch all of that I just put down? It is easier to be comfortable in our chaos because at least we know what to expect. Because again, keyword, we know what to expect. Whether we like it or not, we know it. It is familiar. And what did we say is the brain's number one job? To keep us safe. What are some ways it keeps us safe? It looks for patterns and predictability, which means it likes the familiar. And so although this is a painful familiar, it's getting the job done because the brain is saying, oh, but I know this familiar. So I'm going to do all that I can to keep you in this space because I know it. It hurts, but I know it. Whereas moving out of that space, I have no clue what that is. I have no clue what it will bring. Therefore, I have no clue how I can keep myself safe and alive. Is this making sense to y'all? Because that's how it works. So don't beat up on yourself. But that's why we're here at Devotional Time for Mindset. So we can learn and become aware and we can do the things that we need to do to start to make improvements. Y'all good? Hey, keeping up with AM. Thanks for tuning in. Tabitha says facts. Brittany says we know it, so we have to get comfortable with the unknown. But it's not our job to keep us safe and alive. That's God's part, right? Hey, KP917. Let me go look at these comments. Miss Coco says, hello, everyone. Thank you, Lindsay, for this safe space. Absolutely, my pleasure. And I'm honored that you're here. So was that helpful, Infran? Was that helpful for you? Let me know in the comments. And was that helpful for everybody else on TikTok and Instagram and all the different Facebooks and on YouTube and LinkedIn and Clubhouse? Did y'all understand that? Yes, we get comfortable in our misery because it's easier. And our brain will also, we don't like to do work. Just naturally, we often like to take the easy route. I see a thumbs up on Clubhouse. Yes, Francine says, yes, I understand. And Brittany says, yes, you're over here shifting paradigms. Y'all, this is science. It is scripture. It's in the word. It's science. It's in nature. It is literally all around us. But we think we know better. We think that we can beat out how we're naturally wired. And we can. We just have to be intentional about it. So I don't want y'all to think that we're just laboring in vain, because what did a verse from a previous day say? Like, don't get weary, don't give up. It's all worth it in the end. Yeah, we're not laboring in vain, okay? We just have to be willing to do the work that it will take to get us out of those situations. Otherwise, we end up like the Israelites. We think our way is better. We get comfortable in our chaos. We were in slavery and we still like, man, we should have stayed in Egypt. What? You want to stay in slavery? We should have stayed in Egypt because we know what that's like. You got here out, Moses, you got us out here wandering the desert. We eating manna every single day. I'm tired of manna. I want to have some flavor. It probably didn't have no Lowry seasoning on it. It was probably just plain, Okay, I'm being silly now. Let me continue. Okay, so furthermore, I'm gonna put this next verse on the screen. Isaiah 43. So Isaiah chapter 43, verses 19 and 20. It says, forget what happened long ago. Don't think about the past. I am creating something new. There it is. Do you see it? I have put roads in deserts, streams, and thirsty lands. Well, Lindsay, what does that mean? Miss Coco says, move along. We have stayed too long. Come on, Bible. Right. Y'all, it's a whole bunch of juicy stories in the Bible. Y'all got to read it for yourself, okay? Hey, LJ, thanks for tuning in. Listen, and if you don't understand what it's saying, that's when you go look at different versions and you get you a Bible that has explanations. Y'all, I probably use about, I don't know, I got 3 different things bookmarked on my computer. I have a whole folder on my phone with probably like 6 different Bible and just study apps. I got this big old Bible. I just started using this one. You see how big it is? That's because all other chapters come with explanations. It comes with like nice, pretty summaries, like what's the book about, who wrote it, what they wrote it for, why they wrote it, when they wrote it. And then each of the areas, for y'all looking on video, it has little summaries of the verses. Like, this is what this verse means. We got to learn it for ourselves so that we can understand, because we can't implement the things that we understand, which is why I love making things plain. I don't like to use a whole bunch of scientific jargon and all this stuff. Anytime I can, I'm going to make it as plain as possible, because again, we can't implement the things that we don't understand. So back to Isaiah 43 verses 19 and 20. We already learned in Deuteronomy that God was yelling at the Israelites like, yo, move into this land. Y'all been wandering the desert for way too long. Y'all should have been there in 11 days. And now here we are in year 40, and I'm giving you this land bigger and better. So in Isaiah 43, verses 19 through 20, he's saying again, forget about what happened a long time ago. Forget about Egypt. You know what? Even forget about the miracles I did in the past, because the miracles I'm trying to do for you are bigger and better than the ones you used to have. But you won't move. And he goes on to say, do you see this path? I made it for you. Do you see it? Because I mean, if you can't see it, then that's a problem for me. But I know all things, so I know you can see it. Move. It's right there. Take it. God is fed up. Woo! I don't know if I could have done it, y'all, because I would have been right there with God, like, yep, take me with you, because clearly they stubborn, they hard-headed. He's like, I've literally put roads in deserts and streams in thirsty lands. I've given you food and I've given you all the things. And I have an entire promised land just for you. but you won't move because you keep dwelling on the past. You keep dwelling on what used to be. You keep saying and complaining how you don't know what's to come and what's ahead. And so it's easier to just stay right where you are, not realizing the blessing that I have for you if you would move. Yeah. I'm going to let y'all simmer on that. And so here's the thing. We can focus on the wilderness or we can focus on the way in the wilderness. Did y'all get that? We can focus on the wilderness or we can focus on the way in the wilderness. So if you in the jungle right now, you have to ask yourself, am I focused on the jungle and all these scary noises I'm hearing and how dark it is whenever the sun goes away and how muddy it is? And like, Lord, I have no clue where I'm going in this jungle. Get me out of this jungle. Why couldn't I just stayed back in the quicksand? At least I would have known how I was going to die. Yet I don't know what creatures is lurking behind that big old tree in this jungle. But God is saying, if you would just focus, there's that word again. We talked about focus in previous days. Where your focus goes, your energy flows, and you attract more of that you're focused on. And God's saying, if you would just shut up with your complaining, have faith in me, and look at the path and move, you could have been out of the jungle in 11 days. So ask yourself, am I focused on the wilderness or am I focused on the way in the wilderness? Hey, V. Hey, Ciende. Hey, Chucky. Ask yourself that. That's a question for you to answer. It reminds me of how we talked about on day 7, the woman that was standing in the burning building. There was a door to escape the building, but she was paralyzed in fear and she just stood there and she was screaming. God even sent someone back in the building to help her get out, and she fought the help that God sent. And eventually he got her out of the building, but at what cost? So now you pulling other people into your chaos. Because we do that same thing. We see the way, but we don't move. God provides the way, but we don't move. We have to be willing to move. Something else we talked about in previous days. Hearing God and hearing his instruction, but then are we willing to follow the instructions once we hear them? Okay, so what happens when we don't move? We prolong our suffering, like we've been talking about all day 13. You can delay or even miss out entirely on your blessing. Yes, there's the saying that, what God has for me is for me and nobody can take it away. But there's also some requirements to still obtain that. Because yes, God wants to bless us, but he ain't going to keep playing with us, okay? That blessing may look differently by the time you finally fix yourself, or it may not be there at all, because everything doesn't come around twice, whether it's for us or not. And more often than not, it's our own fault, not God's. He gave us the blessing, but we didn't do what we were supposed to do to receive it. We can't blame that on him. And oftentimes we do. God, why you didn't give me this? Why you didn't answer my prayer? And he's looking at us like, girl, bro, if you would have moved when I told you to move and did what I told you to do, if you would have been obedient when I told you to be obedient, if you would have left when I told you to leave, if you would have quit or resigned when I told you to resign, you would have had that answered prayer and that blessing bigger than what you wanted. We have to take accountability. So we can delay or even miss our own blessings. But guess what, y'all? Because we're all connected to one another, the people that are connected to us and that we are called to can also miss a blessing. I don't know about you, but that makes me sad because as a recovering people pleaser, I don't like to let people down. I feel horrible anytime I unintentionally let someone down. I try to be very diligent about never intentionally letting someone down. But if I ever unintentionally let someone down, it makes me feel horrible. And I don't want anyone to feel like that. I know how I feel when people let me down. And sometimes that can become a defense mechanism for someone where we don't want to ask for help because we don't want to get let down when that person doesn't follow through with the things that they're going to follow, what they say that they're going to do or provide. So, what type of person do you want to be? Sometimes when we don't move, not only do we miss our blessings, but the people connected to us also miss a blessing. And you don't know if that blessing potentially will change their life or be the medicine for their illness, be the solution to their problem. Guys, are we in the wilderness? Tabitha says, yes, guilty. Hey, Tiffany. Hey, Ashley. Hey, Pearl. Thanks for tuning in. So, y'all get it? So, let me give y'all a few examples of some times that I moved having no clue, well, except for the last example. So, we're going to see the differences between the first two times and the last time. And then we're going to get into, I thought of a name because remember I said I didn't want to call it challenges or homework or nothing like that. So then after I share these examples, we're going to get into our intentional act. Every day, I'm going to try to come up with some type of intentional act for y'all to focus on in the next 24 hours because we want to implement the things that we're learning, right? We don't just want to talk about it. We don't want to be mouthpieces. We actually want to implement because remember, faith without actions is dead. We got to do some things along with, fixing our thoughts. Miss Coco says, definitely coming back for the replays. This journey of 100 is mind protection, peace and blessings. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in, Miss Coco. So here is a time when I moved and I had no clue how what was going to play out. Okay. But I just moved. I was being obedient instantly in the moment. I'm not going to share the whole story because I've shared it on previous days, but January 1st, 2021, I did the very first round of Devotional Time for Mindset with this very same book. Okay. No clue what I was doing. No clue what I was supposed to do. No clue that it was going to be 100 days. No clue that I was going to need help down the line. No clue. I just heard the inner voice that said, read this on Clubhouse. The first time I dismissed it. The second time I heard that inner voice that said, read this on Clubhouse. I recognized, oh, that's God leading me. Let me be obedient. I don't know why. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a pastor. I didn't go to Bible school. I cuss a little bit, so I don't know why he's instructed me to read this on Clubhouse, but that's not my business to know why. It's only my business to be obedient, period. So I got on Clubhouse. I was transparent. I said, y'all, I don't know why I'm reading this, but I'm going to read it. And then afterwards, we can talk about it. Sound good? Exactly my words 3 years ago, January 1st, 2021. Little did I know that devotional was going to literally reach thousands. Why? Because I could see the number count in Clubhouse. I think one time we had a high of 800 people in the room at one single time because you could come in and out. And on a regular day-to-day basis, there was about 100 people that showed up regularly every single day. And then how do I know that it was impacted? Because I kept track of those numbers and the new faces and things like that. But then also I had a forum on my website that says, has this impacted you? Please let me know. And people filled it out and they shared how the room has impacted them, how it positively changed their perspective and their outlook on life. and how already they were experiencing better days. How one lady ended up saving her marriage from the things that we talked about and something that I suggested that she do for 30 days. Remember, it's for 100 days, so there was plenty of time for her to act. And she did act. And 30 days later, she gave an update and she said, I just want to thank you because you literally saved my marriage. And there were so many stories like that. There were people that weren't believers that ended up coming to Christ. Because one of my helpers, she was actually an ordained minister. And so we had a bonus session for anybody that was struggling and wanted additional prayer and wanted help in making that transition. Thousands of people touched and impacted, all from my simple act of obedience. I moved when God told me to move. I didn't question it. I did, but I questioned it as I was moving. Only because I was like, what? You talking to me? That was one. January last year, 2023. For those of y'all that don't know, I'm an actress, and this is a new journey of my life, a new chapter in my life. Quick backstory, I have never went to any acting school. I didn't grow up in theater and drama and going to plays and doing plays. I had other stuff that I was doing. But January 2023, I decided to go on an audition because acting has always seemed like something fun for me. I didn't do it, like I said, but I mean, it was always a thought. And January 1st, I went on my very first audition. No clue what I was doing. Never been to an acting class in my life. Don't know the ins and the outs. But God said, do this. And I was okay with doing it. Was I scared? Absolutely. But I didn't let that show. Instead, I used it as fuel to propel me forward. And I walked in that audition confidently. I was screaming on the inside, but on the outside, I said, oh, I got this. And I ended up booking not only a role, not a background role, not a supporting role, but I ended up booking the lead role. Not one of the supporting lead characters, but the main character on the first audition. All because I moved when God told me to move. And that same day, there were some things that didn't work out that I had in my plans. But remember, we talked about before, sometimes God will have something bigger and better for us. And the things we think we want are not necessarily what we need or in the direction that we will go. And so they will get pruned away. He will cut them away. So we have to remember that just because something might seem like a loss doesn't mean it's a loss. And so earlier that day, some things had transpired that changed my evening plans, that put me in the position to see the audition that was literally the very next day. Y'all see? Because God will align it. If he calls you, he will equip you. And once we start moving, he will start to send you all the resources that you need to keep moving. Did y'all catch that part? Once you start moving, he will send you what you need along the way when you need it. Even when you didn't know you needed it. So I went to that audition. I booked the main lead role. And y'all, just because there were natural abilities present doesn't mean I didn't put in the work. Because from there, I started taking classes and working with coaches and going to workshops and putting in the work, natural abilities or not. Because remember, faith without works is dead. So we still have to put action behind our intentions and our thoughts. And why am I sharing that? Because this acting journey has been God ordained the whole way through. And there are conversations that I have had with people on breaks, backstage, behind the scenes that have helped them to improve their life, whether it was for the day or for the long distance. And I'm not saying this to brag on myself or say like I'm just like some great being that I'm changing everybody's lives. I am changing lives, but you have that ability too. You are tied and connected to people that aren't connected to me, that aren't going to be attuned to my voice and my personality, because I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. Each and every one of us have a specific person or people that we're called to. And so in this case, I can be confident and say, I changed lives as another act of obedience. If I would have allowed the fear of, girl, you ain't never been to acting school, girl, you ain't never had no coaches, girl, you don't know what to do in an audition, stop me from showing up at that audition, I wouldn't have booked that lead role, which wouldn't have led to the next thing, which wouldn't have led to all the different people I've met and all the different conversations that I've had. I literally had a conversation and brought people to tears. A specific person that I'm thinking about. Tears of growth, not sadness, of revelation. Dang, I never thought about that. But now that I know that, I can do this better type of tears. I've literally had people say, I don't know what it was about you. I just knew I wanted to be around you. I knew I wanted to talk to you. And we would proceed to have a long conversation while we were waiting to go to the next scene. If I had not shown up, if I would not have moved last January 2023, when God told me to move, all of those blessings would have been missed, including my own. So you have to ask yourself, who is connected to me that is missing their blessing because I'm not moving? Take yourself out of the equation. And I know we can be selfish, so feel free to put it right back in. But ask both questions. What blessing am I missing because I'm not moving? And follow up with, who is missing a blessing because I'm not moving and they're tied to me? Mm-hmm. And so here's this last moment of movement, and then I'm going to let y'all go. This January 2024, I don't know what it is about Januaries, but all three of these examples happened in January. So this last January 2024, with this second round of devotional time for mindset, I have already told you on previous days, I literally did not want to do this. I love being here with y'all. Don't get me wrong, but I came here initially begrudgingly. I only did it because God told me to do it again. However, this time I questioned it. I allowed fear to procrastinate and to put it off. Remember, delayed obedience is still disobedience. And it wasn't until I reminded myself of that I was like, oh, shoot, girl, you better get it together. Because in full transparency, I should have been doing this last year. So I'm going to take accountability for my lack of actions and say, unfortunately, I don't know who missed a potential blessing because I did not move last year when God told me to do it again for a second time last year. Instead, I allowed the enemy to plant seeds of fear, to plant seeds of doubt, to plant seeds of comparison. What if it's not as good as the first time? What if people don't show up for the second time? What if people aren't impacted or their lives aren't improved? What if no one shows up at midnight? Because the last time I did it at 10 in the morning, even though it's only midnight in one portion of the world. And clearly, as I mentioned earlier, there are people tuned in all over. And then I ended up getting on somebody else's live devotional and seeing all the people that they had showing up each and every day. And they had it at midnight. And I was like, oh, shoot, dang. Now you're comparing it not only to the last time you did it, but now you're comparing it to this person too. And I allowed Satan to let me procrastinate until finally I had to remind myself, delayed obedience is still disobedience. And so I had to check myself and get myself together and say, by any means necessary, we're showing up January 1st and we're going for round 2. And we're going to make it as impactful as possible, whether 2 people show up or 2,000 people or 2 million people show up. I'm going to be here every day, and I'm going to give you the messages that were placed on my heart based on this Battlefield of the Mind devotional book, and we're going to keep it moving. So that last one, I allow the enemy to impact my move. But at the same time, I'm willing to take accountability for my procrastination and for my delay in the move and for turning 11 days into 40 years. And I just want to publicly apologize to anybody who maybe needed this in the last year season of their life. Please forgive me. I need a second, y'all. I'm sorry. I did not mean to cry on this live, but I already told y'all I don't like letting people down, and just saying that out loud, I am humbly sorry for anybody who needed any of these messages last year in their last year's season and I did not show up. Okay, y'all. I'm sorry. We're gonna keep it moving. Rocky says, man, I'm late. You may be late, but you're here. You showed up despite, and I appreciate you for that. She says facts, and you are forgiven. Thank you. Thank you. Tabitha says, I definitely needed you, but I need you more now. Thank you. And Rocky says, now I'm crying. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make y'all cry, but that literally convicted me as I was saying it. Tabitha says, you are forgiven. You got us now. Thank you. I love you. I love you. Hey, Adam. I love all of you guys. Rocky, don't cry. Okay, y'all. Deep breath. Deep breath. I'm good. And thank you for accepting my apology. But let that be an example of what not to do. And when God tells you to move, move. Even when you don't know why, even when you don't understand, even when you don't know how, move. When God says move, move. Let go of the wilderness mentality. Ask yourself, am I focused on the wilderness or am I focused on the way out of the wilderness? Because He will always provide a way. We learned that on previous days. God will always provide a way. Whether we focus on it or not is a different story. Whether we see it and decide to take action is a different story. But now that we know the story and its impacts and its negative results, we know that despite all of the doubt and fear that may be present, we have to move when God says move. Mama Nett says, don't cry, love. I'm better now. Brittany says, oh, sister, thank you for showing up now. You are forgiven. Thank you, love. Rocky says, you are free now. We love you. Y'all gonna make me cry happy tears now. So we have to move when God says move, okay? Because 9 times out of 10, He has something, not even 9 times out of 10, let me not say that. He always has something bigger than what we can even imagine. But we have to be willing to move and do the things that we need to do, even when we don't understand, so that we can receive those blessings and so that the people that are connected to us specifically can receive their portion of that blessing. Okay, so here is the intentional act for day 13. All right, I want y'all to have some reflection in the next 24 hours, okay? And first, I want you to ask yourself, how has God told you to move? Write that down. For those of you in video, take a screenshot of the screen on some video platforms, not on TikTok, not on Instagram. But how has God told you to move? Okay. We're not worried about the things that he told us to move and we moved immediately, like those first two examples I shared. We're talking about specifically like the last example I shared, where I moved, but I moved late. So ask yourself, how has God told you to move? Where either you're planning to move, but you haven't moved yet for some reason or another, or you haven't moved at all and you have no intentions on moving, but you just complaining about the situation. And then once you figure out what that is specifically, ask, what is holding you back from moving? Is it fear of the unknown? Is it fear of failure? In my case, it was fear of it not being good enough as the first time, fear of failing along with that. Like, what if this one completely flops as opposed to the first time? But remember, comparison is the enemy of joy. I got some tissue on my face. So ask yourself, what is holding you back from moving? And then pray to God and ask him to help you release that. Help you release what's holding you back. Help ask him to send you the resources that you need. But be careful, because we know sometimes those don't come until we start moving. So if he doesn't send you anything immediately, don't let that be another excuse to hold yourself back. Okay? So, how has God told you to move? What is holding you back from moving? And then the last thing is, I want you to take one action towards actually moving. One, not the whole 100 actions that may be needed, but just take one action. Because remember, progress is better than perfection. And like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, you don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You just need to move to step one. And then after you get to step one, move to step 3. Have step 100 in mind. Yeah, that's the goal. But when we try to do a 100, I don't know about y'all, but I can't, it don't matter how flexible or stretchy I may or may not be. I cannot scale from step 1 to step 100. And I don't think any of y'all can either, unless y'all are one of those stretchy comics. Who was the flex stretch, the old school, where you could like stretch Armstrong? That's who I'm thinking of. And isn't like one of the Incredibles, is it the mom that she can stretch her body everywhere? None of us is made like that. So get to step 1, then focus on step 2, but always keep 100 in mind. And don't be alarmed if you get to step 50 and God says go in a different direction, because that could happen as well. But don't let that discourage you. And then we get to step 2, and guess what? God sends us the tools and the resources that we need to be successful in step 3 and step 4 and step 5. And then we get to step 5, and he sends us more tools and resources to keep going. Because remember, if he called us, he will equip us. If he gave us the vision, he will give us the provision. Brittany says, I love this question. Are we focused on the wilderness or are we focused on the way out? Rocky says, I'm getting this book. Ooh, you're getting this book like you're going to write a book, or you mean you're going to get the Devotional Time for Mindset book? Or I keep saying Devotional Time for Mindset because that's what this is called. But the book that we're guiding it from is Battlefield of the Mind Devotional. Rocky, if you're talking about this book specifically, so she has an actual book, Battlefield of the Mind. She has a journal workbook, Battlefield of the Mind. But then she also has Battlefield of the Mind Devotional. So we are specifically, you can get all of them if you want. And FYI, I don't get no compensation for this or nothing. So don't think I'm getting a kickback. By Joyce Meyer. But we are specifically reading from the devotional. And if you do decide to order it, know that you can go to mindsetmastersuite.com and download a free PDF copy until your book arrives as well. So Brittany says, yo, he asked me to move consistently. Ooh, yes. Because sometimes we move, but we ain't consistent. That's a whole nother thing right there. Listen, I struggle with consistency too. But you've been here every day. So look, kudos to you, Brittany. Everybody show Brittany some love in the comments because she has consistently been here and we're 13 days in. Mama Net says failure. Rocky says, oh, that's good. The devotional. Going to your site. Amen. And while you're on the site, shameless self-plug, there's also another lovely devotional called First Class Life Devotional. 35 testimonies of phenomenal faith through turbulent times. Y'all see it here on the screen. 35 testimonies of phenomenal faith through turbulent times. This is the First Class Life Devotional. And this has stories of other people sharing how they got through their turbulent times. And it's a very interactive book. You'll notice any of my books in the First Class Life Suite are all interactive because I know that people learn differently. And I also know that the more that you can incorporate all of your different senses and different tools and resources into the thing that you're learning, you will understand it better. And what did we say earlier? If you don't understand it, you can't implement it. Okay. So there's that. And y'all got that? Did y'all get the screenshot? How has God told you to move? What is holding you back from moving? And then take that action. And if you're feeling froggy, go ahead and put your one action in the comments. And if you don't know what that one action should be, then take it to God and say, God, please give me clarity on what is the one singular thing that you want me to do in the next 24 hours towards that goal. Or to make that move that you told me to move. Okay. So I can tell y'all what mine is. I don't mind sharing mine. So a year ago, last January, y'all, what is up with me in January's? Okay. Last January, God put it on my heart to create a First Class Life spiritual journal. Like an actual journal to keep your prayers, to keep your conversations with God all in a singular place. Because I was sitting at my desk and I was picking up yet a fifth notebook to write down a prayer and to write down some things that I had been talking to God about. And then it hit me and I was like, I got all these different notebooks on this page. I'm trying to flip through. And even when I have a dedicated notebook, I'm still trying to match it with the things from this notebook. And I was like, okay, you need to make a spiritual journal. What does that look like? Ain't never heard of that before. So then I went to social media. I said, have you guys ever heard of a spiritual journal? And if so, what did you like about it? If not, what would you want into it? And then there were a lot of comments, and most people had not heard of a spiritual journal specifically. And then they said some things, and God was like, you are to create this spiritual journal. But here's the thing. This is why I didn't move in my defense, y'all. Okay. In this case, at that time in my life, I heard the instruction, but I wasn't clear. I wasn't clear if it was a distraction from the things I was supposed to be doing, or if it was actual instruction from God, which is another reason why I'm a big advocate for self-care, because there was so much going on in my life at that time. I wasn't able to discern. And that's why I didn't move, because I was like, if this is a distraction, this is just going to throw everything off even more than it already is. And so I didn't do anything. And I've literally been sitting on that idea for a year, and it'll keep popping up. And then I'm like, oh, okay, God, you want me to do this. This wasn't just a distraction. I should have started it last January. But now here we are, and now it's getting started, and it'll be available for purchase sometime this year. Yeah, so that'll be my action, my first action towards that. Like, I already made an outline, but now I'm going to sit down and actually start to create the content and all of that thing, and get that together for the spiritual journal. So Brittany says, I have to be honest. Your obedience during devotional time for mindset has caused me to examine my own obedience. God told me to show up here for the 100 days and show up for myself. I have been more consistent this week showing up for myself than I have been in 6 years. Brittany, listen, real thugs don't cry, okay? Because I done already cried once tonight. You're not about to make me cry again. Hey, Michelle, thanks for tuning in. We're actually wrapping up, but feel free to stay and make sure you come back and catch the replay too, because today was good. Oh, Brittany. More hand claps for Brittany, okay? And hand claps for Tabitha, and hand claps for everybody that is being vulnerable in the comments. Rocky says, awesome job with the dancing emoji. Y'all. I like to shake my butt to a good beat sometimes. Rocky says, I'm buying it now. Yes, Joyce Meyer, she will thank you. She appreciates your purchase. And if you're buying the First Class Life Devotional, I appreciate your purchase. And you're going to have a nice surprise in the mail. Brittany says, God's grace is sufficient. Praise God, we are taking action. Yes, everybody on Devotional Time for Mindset is going to be one step closer to where they need to be come this time tomorrow. We are all in this together, and we're going to start off tomorrow's Devotional Time checking in on everybody. So please put it in the comments, the action that you're going to take, because we're going to hold each other accountable, okay? Rocky says, proud of you. Thank you, boo. And everybody, let's give some loving hearts emoji to Rocky in the comments as she had her beloved pet unfortunately transitioned. So we want to show her lots of love and light and add her to our prayers as well. Rocky says, no, I'm getting yours. Ooh, baby. Yes. And like, okay, you're going to have you a nice little goodie in the mail, okay? I appreciate it. Thank you. Please let me know how you love it. Mama Net says, way to go, Brittany. Brittany says, thank you, thank you. And Rocky says, thank you. It's been a rough couple of days. So yes, we are all standing here and praying for your peace and your strength. I know there's lots of people on here that have pets and they are another family member. So we are standing with you in prayer and praying for your peace and strength as you go through this difficult time. So thank you for showing up. And thank you guys for being here. Oh, this is the longest live we've had yet. We've been here an hour and a half, y'all. I appreciate y'all because I know y'all could be doing anything in the world, but you have spent your precious time here with me, time that you can never get back, but time that I promise to make it worth your while as you move forward with your day and with your week and with your year. And I pray blessings and abundance on each and every one of you. Brittany says in the comments, oh, I'm sorry for your loss, Chanel, praying for your love. Yes. I appreciate y'all. And I'm honored and humbled that you guys allow me to guide you on this journey of devotional time for mindset. Again, as we move forward, please, I would love for you to be here for the whole 100 days, but any day that you can make it, whether it's 1 or 100, I am grateful for you. And I pray that you are blessed. We are again following along with Devotion or Battlefield of the Mind Devotional by Joyce Meyer. You can download your free copy if you would like to follow along with us at mindsetmastersuite.com. Suite, SUITE, like the suite you buy at a sports game, not the sweets you eat. So mindsetmastersuite.com, you see it on the screen or in the description somewhere. And you can submit prayer requests at mindsetmastersuite.com. Please contribute to our favorite list of scriptures, inspirational personal development books, and inspirational songs. And I will be sending that out at the end of our 100-day journey. You can also join me live, not tonight because we're wrapping up, but tomorrow or any of the 100 days, any of the other days on our 100-day journey by clicking the join live button at mindsetmastersuite.com. And you can keep your camera on or off. It's completely up to you. And lots of different resources on mindsetmastersuite.com. You can be like Rocky and purchase your copy of First Class Life Devotional, 35 Testimonies of Phenomenal Faith Through Turbulent Times. And, just keep on keeping on, guys, and know that we got this, okay? And how we come out on the other end of this 100-day journey is going to be amazing. And for a lot of us, we don't even got to wait the 100 days because it's already started. Okay. So I am praying for you. There are additional resources all on mindsetmastersuite.com. I would love to see you here tomorrow. Feel free to share and invite some friends. We are here same time, same place, every single day or night, depending on where you're tuned in from. And you can find all of those links at mindsetmastersuite.com. So with that said, y'all, Rocky said, thank you, Brittany. Thank you. With that said, I hope y'all have a great rest of your day and or nights. And I am praying for you. I will continue to pray for you. And remember, obedience does not require perfection. Okay? Obedience does not require perfection. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do for your actions. Put those in the comments because we're going to hold each other accountable come tomorrow. All right. With that, oh, yes, Mama Nat is in the devotional. Sharing her story and how she overcame with her phenomenal faith. And Brittany says, my privilege, my privilege. So thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.